Welcome to the Upshot, Ultiworld Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Join me, Josh Mansfield, on this Tuesday, January 27th. Josh, at this point, we are both licking our wounds as our teams have been eliminated from Super Bowl contention. Obviously, a horrible stroke of luck for the Broncos, and give me the give me the Seahawks by 1 million in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels. You know, Charlie, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I am glad that Denver lost the Patriots because there were one of two possible rematches in the Super Bowl. Either going to be the Seahawks versus the Patriots, or it's going to be the Seahawks versus the Broncos. Both of those Super Bowls have some really, really bad low lights to play. And I'd prefer that the Seahawks get the bad low lights and not the Broncos. Because all it would just be clip after clip after clip of the 2013 Super Bowl when Peyton Manning had the fumble on the first snap, and then the Seahawks would proceed to blow us out of the water.
That's when so many people made so much money betting yes safety.
I know.
And then immediately getting the safety. That was incredible.
Crazy. So it's better this way. It's better that the Seahawks are the ones who have to deal with the Butler interception, and they might have a chance at redemption.
Well, I'm sorry, Josh. I mean, I'm sure you were already resigned to taking an L after the quarterback news. So
I didn't even pick
trust
him in
me.
my
I know how
Survivor
you feel. Trust me.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
We are 1 month away from the 2026 disc golf season. Got the new sponsor. You know, we're gambling more. Powerball time. We got some cool new events coming up. I'm super excited for Big Easy Open in New Orleans, second event of the year, and I'm just it's like we're just like counting down the days at this point because I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot happening. We're going to have some early A tiers to get things going. And so, but look, the big news I think is past us at this point, and we just kind of await everybody coming back for the tour.
It's perfect time though, because it means that we get to start talking. We get to start talking predictions. We get to start talking about the season that's coming up, not the season that has been.
Yes, absolutely right. Today, we're going to dig a little bit more into the fandom survey and players and media and manufacturers' popularity on these various axes, as we now have a lot of data over the course of a few years about this. So we're going to have the guys who run the survey on the pod with us in just a moment. And we also got some specific Upshot data. So we'll get to that after the interview, where we talk a little bit about relative to the rest of the audience, how do Upshot listeners compare? And there's some really fun results from that. So we will share that in just a moment. So let's bring them on right now. Josiah Zutzma and Jesse Weiss, the architects of the fandom survey, had more than 10,000 responses this year, are going to join us on the pod, talk about some of the most interesting stuff. And then Josh and I will return to talk about the Upshot specifics. Stay with us. It's the Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. While the Pound Tour Team 2026 is coming together, they've already announced tons of pros who are going to be repping Pound this year out on the course, including Eliezer Mittling, Cole Redallen, Rebecca Don, Mason Ford, Valerie Mondahano, Sophia Dunica, Joey Buckets, Dustin Keegan, Zoe Andike, Taylor Chosek, and Sullivan Tipton, with more announcements on the way. So those pros repping the Pound bags. You can rep your own. Go to pounddiscgolf.com. Custom make the bag of your dreams or grab a stock option today. I carry a Rufus. What do you want to carry? Check out the brand new redesigned 2026 Octos as well. Welcome back to the Upshot. Joining us now, the guys from First Available Research. You probably know them as the duo behind the Fandom Survey. They do a ton of research every year with a huge fan survey of disc golfers. Many of the results are published on Ultiworld Disc Golf and have been for the last couple of years. So welcome to both of you, Jesse Weiss and Josiah Zutzma. Thanks for joining us.
Great. Thanks for having us.
All right. Well, what is this year 4 or 3 of Fandom
Year
Survey?
4 for us.
Year 4. What, like, if we zoom all the way out, as you've kind of like opened up this survey to more and more people, getting it advertised on DGN, you know, you have this huge, over 10,000 surveys filled out this year. I mean, an amazing sample of mostly, let's say, fans of professional disc golf, but just a wide swath of disc golfers. What do you feel like pops out to you in 2026? Given all of the upheaval we've seen in COVID and, you know, player popularity and all these contracts, and like things have slowed down a little bit in the industry, things have slowed down on the sponsorship front, but, you know, it feels like we're maybe setting a new base, and now we have all of this data over the last 4 years. What pops?
Yeah, I'll start with what pops for me is that with us having better and better data each year, and now us having 2 to 3 years of really high sample data, we're really actually able to see some of these changes that we weren't able to see year over year. And so if I just told you like a random stat that 8% of people's favorite MPO player is Anthony Barella, you would be like, that makes sense. He's popular. He's on these YouTube channels, right? You know, and having just a snapshot of that isn't as interesting as the fact that we can say we had 10,000 people fill out the survey this year and something like 7,000, 8,000 last year. And from year over year, Anthony Barella has over doubled his like percentage of favorite there, right? Like that's us being able to say real meaningful changes in how fandom is occurring across the entire disc golf like fan base that we wouldn't be able to without this data and without this year over year stuff that we're able to work with. I don't know, Jesse, if there's anything specific that's popping out for you with what we're able to do now.
Well, I mean, that's a great way of looking at the holistic about where we're able to get year-on-year data. I'd say the big jump for me was Silva Saarinen. It's really exciting that she jumped 13 points in favorite player. I didn't really see that coming, that she was going to become the second most popular player in our fandom survey after Simon. So that was a surprise.
I'm actually wanted to ask you specifically about that one. And we'll put the chart up of that change in percentage of who's your favorite player year over year. Silva jumping to 13%. Well, look who's lost tons of fans. Kristen Latt down almost 17.5%. Is this mostly Kristen fans transferring to Silva, or was that more of an even distribution? I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, so no, we actually do. And Jesse and I had talked a lot about this. So two things to note. So first off, just saying that this survey was taking around a month period right after Worlds. So this was before Kristen had officially announced that she was not planning on returning for the 2026 touring season. But this was, you know, during and after like tournaments that she dropped out of and questions about how much she was playing. So just a reference point for when the survey was in the scale of a tumultuous season with some of this news. But we added to the survey this year a question that we were really excited to dive into, which was we asked, after people told us who their favorite players were, we asked if that favorite player had changed since the last year, just explicitly asked, you know, yes or no. And for FPO, there was 18% of respondents who said, yes, my favorite player changed. And we followed up with them and said, who was it last year? And we could look to see, you know, of the people whose favorite player now is Silva, who were they like coming in from and who were they switching from? So I put together a top 4 for where these changes of favorite players were. So number 1 was Kristen to Silva. People whose Kristen was their favorite player and Silva became their favorite player. Number 2 was Kristen to Cadence Burge. Number 3 was Kristen to Owen Scoggins. And number 4 was Evelina to Silva. So it's kind of a mix of both. So this change in less people's favorite player is Kristen, you know, that's being spread out across multiple people, but also multiple people are coming to Silva being their favorite player from different angles of, you know, this was my favorite player previously. So to me, this reflects what I think is a maturation of the fandom in the sport of disc golf. The fact that over the past 3 years, Kristen and Simon have lost the most people of saying, this is my favorite player, while also maintaining the number one most selected for favorite player, right? This is us of like the fandom base having more distributed favorite players, favorite fandom, and is probably better equipped. It's as a healthier place for Kristen to step away from the sport as compared to 2 or 3 years ago, where 40 to 50% of people said Kristen Lott or Kristen Tatar at the time was their favorite player.
Assuming by the time you run this survey in the next year, Kristen has made no announcement concerning her plans for 2027, how do you plan to handle Kristen in next year's survey?
We're going to include her in the survey. We sometimes include people who are not that active on tour who are important, who we want to get some data points on. So it would be important to get data points on Kristen, even if she's retired all year.
Have you seen an uptick in the number of people that were responding, or the people who are are fans more engaged with FPO disc golf? That's the question I'm really getting at. And you can answer it in any way that you might measure that in your variety of questions. But as you talk about this maturation in the disc golf fandom, I wonder if part of that is particularly a maturation in the disc golf fandom around FPO and a greater involvement of people who maybe previously were only superficially following that division.
We have a chart of that. And if it's in the media article 2, how closely do respondents follow MPO and FPO? So you may want to post that chart there, and you can look at each year about the trend lines for that, and you can compare them. So that's one you can pull up. Josiah, do you know offhand? I think that the trend is good for FPO, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So in general, year over year, there's more and more people who are responding positively to following closely, greater than 5 out of 10. But that's just like a broad trend, because we're also slightly changing, every year we're getting a broader and broader populace of respondents. So that oftentimes means, when 3 years ago, all that we could access was the most diehard fans who could, we might find this on a Facebook page or a Reddit page. Now, through our partnerships with the DGPT and PDGA, we're spreading out to people who might not follow professional like disc golf as closely. So that skews the data a bit and is harder to see year over year. When I think about the maturation of fandom, though, I do think it in part is, following all aspects of the professional side of the sport more. But it also is just not having all the eggs in the basket of 1 or 2 players, with more and more players getting at least 1% of the vote for favorite player. This is a great trend to see in terms of, likely how many players are able to really sway people towards their sponsors or have followings that contribute to their livelihood out on the tour.
I did look at the chart compared the 2024 FPO to 2025 FPO, and it's down this year. But as Josiah said, we keep expanding our respondent pool. So, for example, Disc Golf Valley promoted our survey this year on the app. Those are probably very different fans than people who find us through DGN or through getting an email from the Disc Golf Pro Tour or from Ultiworld. So, that could be part of it is a different part of the fan base.
I feel like we could do a whole show just talking about player fandom. What's interesting to me, I think, more than anything, is that fandom's fairly stable. Like, the popular players from the last couple of years are still popular, and obviously there are some changes. You don't necessarily see these huge swings like Silva and Kristen. That's more unusual than common. So, guys like Simon Lizotte, they've been popular. They're still popular. Nothing's really changed. Maybe some of the more controversial names kind of start to lose the edge and the haters go away a little bit. So their average scores seem to come up somewhat. But I think it's like that used to be the article where I was like, wow, let's see who's popular. And now it's like, oh yeah, like the people who you would expect to be popular are popular and remain popular.
Yeah, I agree. It's surprisingly stable over time. Like having the swings like we saw this year with Silva, but also like Ben Callaway was a strong positive swing, and he had his first Elite Series win last year. Those are more so the abnormalities here, where a huge chunk of players for both their average fandom score, which again is one way that we report this fandom, as well as their favorite, like percentage of people, this is their favorite player, isn't swinging drastically. For fandom scores, swinging maybe at most half of a point, and for favorite player is also very rarely having big jumps like what we saw with Silva or Barella this year.
It tends to be when somebody starts winning for the first time, they get a jump. Like Matteo a few years ago, he got a jump after he won MVP, and I don't think we've seen any huge gaffes that really took somebody down. That would have been interesting. Certain parts of history of disc golf where if we had prior information and then post information, we could have looked at that. I can think of a couple examples, but it's just as I said, it is relatively consistent in terms of what people's fandom scores are.
All right, I have a question about manufacturer popularity vis-a-vis popular players, because one of the things I notice, you look at people who are popular among players who are popular among people who started playing within the last 2 years. Silva Saarinen, number 1. Anthony Barella, number 2. Simon Lizotte, number 3. Jeremy Colling, number 4. Ezra Aderhold, number 5. One thing I see right off the top is that MVP has 3 of those top 5 players under a sponsorship contract. And they seem to have been very savvy with their selection of players. Are you seeing anything in the data that suggests that they are getting a boost to their business, to their bottom line, because they have been sponsoring popular players? Or is the causation in the other direction? Are the players getting more popular because they're associated with MVP?
Yeah, I think that's hard to say from what we've done so far in analysis, like where the causation question goes, right? So in our manufacturer article, and just for a step back for those who don't know, so far we've published 6 articles this off season. All of them are freely available on the Ultiworld Disc Golf page, as well as on our website, discgolfsurvey.com. But in the article that we had about manufacturers, the biggest jumps were MVP and Axiom in terms of people who said this was their favorite manufacturer, right? And we could look in that article again for people who changed their favorite manufacturer, where they're coming from and like where the shift is. And the top 3 biggest shifts were Innova fans becoming MVP fans, Discraft fans becoming MVP fans, right? So there is definitely a shift in this manufacturer fandom, but without trying to, we haven't done any analysis to try to say this shift is directly caused by some of these player signings, some of these player, bases. So I would say just as a whole, these MVP sponsored players are increasingly popular amongst these new fans, as well as MVP and Axiom as companies. So it's one of these, everything is looking well, and it's pretty hard for us right now to give a causation line.
On that manufacturer side, how would you recommend, because I'm having a hard time combining some of these pieces of data in order to try and make sense of them. So, for example, dynamic discs heavily dropping in terms of the popularity, or at least those who consider them that their favorite brand. MVP growing. If you look at which company is your favorite disc manufacturer, Innova still holds the top spot. But when you combine MVP and Axiom into our kind of MVP group, that takes second only behind House of Discs group. How should I look at this data in understanding Discraft, for example, is 6% behind the next grouping of companies, largely because Discraft is probably the most established and doesn't have DGA isn't as big as Infinite or Axiom or some other brand. How and maybe it's less a question for me of how I should read it. How should manufacturers interpret this kind of disparity between groupings versus individual rankings?
Jesse, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, these groupings, as you pointed out, Josh, are different sizes. I mean, the House of Discs grouping has a lot of brands in it, which is, the perception right now is House of Discs is not very popular among fans. But if you take all the brands together, they actually have a lot of popularity there as people's favorite manufacturer. So I think it's hard to compare Discraft to that bunch. When we also do work for manufacturers, we have specialized reports for them where we are cross-tabulating lots of our different data points to provide them the insights that they want. Whereas, just as you said, Josh, sometimes you have trouble linking all these things together. We do that for the manufacturers that pay for our paid product that we create for them.
What is, in your opinion, when you're looking at this manufacturer data, some of the biggest takeaways in those connections that you've made, whether it's about players or different sponsorships or whatever realm you think it is, but what are some of those biggest takeaways?
Yeah, so we this year in the manufacturer article had asked questions about what impacts that like manufacturer fandom, what changes your likelihood to be a part of one versus the other, and the actual like variables that we asked in our survey, stuff like the brand style, the people who run the company, these things that could contribute to what we choose as our manufacturer fandom, don't really change drastically across different groups. So the people who started following disc golf recently compared to the people who started following disc golf 30 years ago, feel pretty similarly about many of these things. But there definitely is some, shifts. I don't have that data in front of me right now in terms of like who is your favorite disc golf manufacturer. We published that last year where we did age versus that, and you could see certain companies like I believe it was like MVP, but also some of the newer companies like Castaplast, new players, people who started playing the past 2, 3, 4 years were far more likely to say this is my favorite manufacturer. While an Innova, for instance, has a huge market share of the people who started playing 20 years ago when they were one of the few companies that was around. So there definitely are like demographic variables that come out there. But again, questions like that, we are having to dive down with specific questions on specific answers to do these crosstabs to look deeper at.
One of the big stories this offseason has been a little bit of a shakeup in the media side of things. DGN making some pretty substantial changes to the booth. I know you all operated an internal Pro Tour survey about commentators, and then there was also the fandom survey information, which has been published in Disc Golf Media Part 1. That's up on the site. Do the commentator changes make sense to you given the data that you have seen?
I don't know if I don't know if we know everything yet about what the final commentator lineup will be like. If I look at our data and I look at what we know so far about what 2026 is shaping up to be, I think to some degree they're taking in fan sentiment into their decisions, and I think they're also taking into consideration practicality and costs. But until the 2026 booths are, we see who actually is getting the airtime and who's getting those assignments. It's hard to know. I would say that Brian Earhart is clearly one of the most favorite commentators, and it looks like he's going to be getting more airtime. In terms of the play-by-play commentators, it looks like Ian and Terry are out, and they were, they had middling reviews. But one thing that's important to point out is that it's really widespread who fans want in the booth. We had 13 people, 12 commentators got at least 10% of the vote for the Dream booth, and 10% of respondents is 600 people. So that's really spread out. Even people like, say, Nate Doss, who a lot of, we hear a lot of fans don't like in the booth, over 10% of respondents wanted him in their 3-person booth. So that's to say that different fans have different opinions on this. And it's kind of, I don't know, it would be hard to make this decision as DGN based on the data.
I'm curious, and I don't remember if you asked this. I can imagine a world where some commentators may like, for example, I would imagine that those who are indicating that like Nate Doss is their favorite, I'm curious to know, like, would they turn off DGN, or are they like dissuaded if Brian is commentating? And whether or not that's true in the
Next
alternate
year's survey.
That's if like
Who
Brian
makes you
fans,
hit mute?
what makes you hit mute? What makes you go to the like the you know, the natural audio? Because that to me, if people are just like, oh yeah, you know, we have a wide range of favorites and I don't really care who's comment, like, but I'm gonna watch either way, then that's not as big of a deal. But if you have people who are like actively turning it off, that negative reaction will seem more important to me.
Yeah. So we ask every single year, what influences your decision to watch an event and which events you watch. And one of the things that we ask in that, like, as an answer is who is commentating as like one of the factors. Does who is commentating influence whether you choose to watch this event? And every single year it ranks as one of the lowest factors. So this year, 8.8% of people said, yes, who commentates strongly influences if I watch or not. Well, you know, 90+% of people, it maybe has some small effect, but isn't a strong influencer on it. So while I do think it's like a point of a comment, you know, it definitely isn't like the main driving thing. You know, what players are on coverage and what courses they're playing, what the tier of the event, you know, these things matter way more if we're tuning in to that. But like, your point's well taken, that there's definitely, you know, it's not just who you're choosing for your dream booth, it's who you also would like never want to see in the booth, which we didn't ask in this year's survey. But I know that in the Disc Golf Pro Tour's like end of year survey that again, they partnered with us to help run, they asked this question in a variety of different ways, one of which was choose your 3 least favorite commentators. So they have that type of data internally that they are using to help inform these decisions. We're just able to share the data that's in the fandom survey like publicly to say like, here's what, you know, was shared with us. But they definitely have additional data outside of what we're, you know, publishing in these articles that they're helping them to like make informed decision on this. And I will add that it's been refreshing to see that leadership over there is very interested in getting meaningful and good quality data to help inform their decisions. Like that's what Jesse and I can only hope for in collecting this data and being able to share it with partners, is that people are interested in using data to inform their decisions to help grow disc golf across the community in many ways and in meaningful ways.
All right. So I know you've got a forthcoming piece about discs. Can you give us any sneak previews on like most popular discs or most newly popular discs or whatever you think is interesting?
Yeah, I can. So those are the next 2 articles that are coming out, and I'm really excited about both of those. So last year, the question we had about what was your favorite disc and all the ways that we dove into that was some of the most engaged with question. And this year we had over 7,000 respondents tell us what their favorite disc was. And across those 7,000 respondents, there were over 600 different disc molds that had their favorite disc, which is, you know, again, just saying that it's cool that we're in a sport that has so many manufacturers with so many different disc molds, that not every disc works for every person, and you can have a favorite disc for so many different reasons. So that's just a really cool thing to see. A couple tidbits, sneak previews. So I'll say that there's a shakeup in the top 3 from last year. The top 3 is not the same as previous years.
What was the top 3 last year?
Oh, I gotta pull that up. I believe it was Buzz as number 1. Sorry, let me.
Is it because the Tomb's in the top 3 now?
Oh yeah, that's unbelievably the 2. No.
What's it going to take for you to slide that up there so that we get some more publicity on the Tomb? That's what I need to know.
I bet Hex is up there now.
Yeah. So just because it's you, Josh, I did pull this stat. So
yes.
In our 2024 version of the survey, which was our first year asking about favorite disc.
Okay.
The Tomb was the 168th most chosen disc. And this year it is up to 144th.
Hey, look at that.
I mean, that is something. I don't know.
The Josh Mansfield bounce.
Yeah.
That's right. I take
From
sole
totally
credit
obscure
for that.
to slightly less obscure.
Yeah. So the other fun fact for this article that's coming out is that there is a disc that is in the top 10 this year that wasn't even in the top 100 last year. So some disc that came onto the scene and has quickly become a staple that, as of a year ago when the survey was being put out, wasn't even in the top 100. So those are two teasers for the data coming out. But one thing that I also want to share is that last year we only asked about the favorite disc, like what is your favorite disc? And this year we actually had 5 other questions in the survey because this was material that people were very engaged with about what putter do you use? What is your favorite approach disc putter? What is your favorite driver? What is your favorite mid-range? These types of questions. So we're going to have even more granular data on this because right now, you could have a favorite for every one of those classes, but when you ask favorite disc, you can only put one thing. So very excited to share that in the upcoming weeks, these 2 articles.
Jesse, I had the opportunity to talk to you when we were in Estonia kind of about the business side of this company and how you're working with manufacturers and other companies. I guess the first question I'd have, we've talked a little bit about it. When you're looking at this disc data, what are some of the things that manufacturers are asking in response to this favorite discs data?
Well, in terms of the favorite disc data, Josiah, you helped prepare that packet. What do you think?
Yeah. So for the favorite disc data, just very interested in how that is different in different demographic populations. Are older people more so likely to have favorite discs that are specific companies, specific speeds, specific stabilities? Things like that are very, I'm guessing those are being used for marketing plans and marketing strategies of who should we advertise this to and how. Again, we're merely providing information and answers to questions, not necessarily getting the full circle of how this data is being used by other manufacturers. But questions like that, as well as newest fans to the sport. What discs are they picking up and what is becoming their favorite? If you only started playing a year ago, you're likely going to be at a different part of your disc golf journey than if you played 10 years ago. Are you favoring different discs? Are you more likely to like certain stabilities? Questions like that are questions that, again, we have relatively unbiased data on. We're not like an Infinite Discs who is, has their own discs that they're selling, releasing a list. And this is not me hating on that list. I think it's amazing that they're releasing this list and we're seeing what their sales are. All data points are good data points, but are again, with the caveat of they are more likely to sell certain discs to a certain population of disc golfers. Well, we're hopeful our survey isn't biased by a specific manufacturer, and we don't try to promote through a specific manufacturer. We don't ask Innova to, hey, spread our survey through your listserv or something like that, because then we're just going to get an enrichment of Innova fans and supporters into our survey.
One thing that we're really proud of is last year we had a bunch of manufacturers and other companies in the sport pay for our market research product. And this year, every single one of those companies that worked with us last year re-upped again to get a new market research packet from us. So that shows that they valued what we gave them last year and they returned. And we're hoping to have more partners for this coming year.
Go ahead, Josh.
No, go ahead, Charlie. You're good.
No, I was just going to ask, what is still to come in future Fandom Survey articles besides the disc articles that are coming?
Yeah, so we have the 2 disc articles, which are the next 2 off, and then we have one article this year about fit fans as players, the same that we had last year, but we've asked different questions this year, and we always round out with our last article being some miscellaneous things that we weren't able to include in other questions. We had a question this year about who people thought was the GOAT, the greatest of all time for both MPO and FPO, and how that has changed depending on when you started following disc golf. So some really interesting and unexpected to me answers in that side. And yeah, so those 4 are the ones that we have lined up that we're hoping to trickle out as we near the start of the 2026 season.
we'll also do a mailbag. So if anybody's listening and, they've been reading the articles and they wanted to see a crosstab, have a question, let us know and we'd be happy to answer that in our mailbag.
Awesome. Well, guys, this is great. Thanks so much. I guess my last thing I'll leave you with is, how do you feel like this, based on what you're seeing in the survey, does it seem like disc golf, and specifically maybe professional disc golf and the business side of disc golf, which is kind of a little bit more what this is focused on, is it in a healthy place going into 2026?
I don't know if we can answer that accurately because of who takes our survey are the people who are engaged with the sport. So it is a lot of manufacturers and companies in the sport are asking us the same thing. Are things going to get better? Are things going to get better? Because, that's the most important question for them. And we're not really in a good position to answer that. Josiah?
Yeah. So it's hard for us with any survey, like the people who are taking it are going to be the most engaged in disc golf. So we're going to have some skew in that. We're not going to get someone to take the survey who was playing last year and now is not engaged at all with anything disc golf, right? But we do have some data points that would suggest, some positive things with disc golf. So in the second media article that Jesse had just released this past week, there was a question about if you're following disc golf, pro disc golf, more or less, this like scale of 1 to 5, and 1 to 10. And the answers to that again are skewed, but we asked a follow-up question for people who were following it more. What was driving you to follow it more? And there were some really interesting and refreshing things in there. Some of it was just you became more invested in the players. So just engagement with the players leads to you following it more. But there was really cool intersections there where I think the third most selected thing, which was around a third of all respondents, said, I became more engaged in my local disc golf community. Right. So we talk all the time about how, the health of the pro side of the sport and the health of the amateur side, just playing casually, people who might not, know who Paul Macbeth is, but play disc golf 5 times a week. There's a clear tie between those. And a third of all respondents in our survey said they became more engaged with the professional side of the sport because they started, they became more engaged in their local community. And something like that is a refreshing thing to say, across the board, these things are connected. And when we're seeing these courses more full and they're seeing players more, that's a great sign for the professional side as well. And the reverse side, we ask people who are following less, what's the main reason they're following less or playing less? And none of those other answers are even in the ballpark of just, I don't have as much time as I used to, right? So it seems like we're gaining fans and gaining support for really meaningful and interconnected reasons. And people are just not potentially playing as much or following as much because they have other life commitments or other time. And that's a pretty healthy trend from our data in this year's survey.
That's why I think we're going to come out of this year. Because I think a lot of the people who are going to be, I'm too busy, going back to my old life, those people have washed out. And now you have the people who are investing more in disc golf, and new PDGA members, for instance, have stayed healthy. They've been healthy for, since 2020. So anyway, thank you guys. Certainly looking forward to kind of keeping an eye on this over time, and it'll be cool this coming year, I guess now in 2026, when this survey rolls out next winter, to kind of do a 5-year retrospective and try to look at some trends over 5-year time. Obviously it's not perfect because the samples change, but I think that will be very cool. Hopefully you can do some stuff with that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, Jesse Weiss, Josiah Zuidsma, thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks
again for having us.
How can people reach out to you if they are interested in your consulting services?
They can email, on the Ultiworld articles, it has both my contact and Josiah's contact and our author titles. They can also go to discgolfsurvey.com, and our contact information is there as well.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the Upshot. Welcome back to the Upshot. All right, Josh. Well, fandom survey, rocking and rolling. What do you think will be the number one disc this year?
Did they say it wasn't the Buzz?
They said there was at least a new one in the top 3.
What, Buzz was the top one last year, right? That's what we said.
I think so.
I feel like it's going to be Buzz.
I'm looking up last year's results.
Okay.
Favorite disc, number 1, Buzz by a margin.
I think it's going to stay Buzz.
And then Wraith, Destroyer, Hex, Crave, Envy.
Wraith, Destroyer. So which one gets bumped out? I wonder. Interesting. Do I think it's the Wraith or the Destroyer that gets bumped? That's a hard question, I think.
I feel like Hex is about to move up to top 3.
I think you're right. I think Hex moves up, and I think Wraith or Destroyer moves out.
Does Buzz fall behind Hex?
No.
It goes to show you that people just love a really good mid-range.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Great disc.
Straight flying.
I think Destroyer will be the top driver of 2025.
You think Wraith is the one that gets bumped down?
Yeah, I mean, it was only 2 points ahead. The 142 people picked Wraith, 140 people picked Destroyer, which, by the way, goes to show you there were 4,200 respondents last year. There's way more this year. Only 198 people picked Buzz. So it was number 1, but it didn't even come close to reaching like 10% of the total audience. Like, people's favorite disc is hugely varied, as Josiah pointed out.
I will continue to do my tomb lobbying. I've got people in the Discord buying tombs. I sold somebody on the course on a tomb the other day. I will get that up there, Charlie. We're going to make progress with the tomb.
My favorite stat my favorite stat from last year is favorites mold at each disc speed.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll give 1 to 14.
Yep.
Berg, AVR, Envy, Zone, Buzz, Crave, T-Bird, Passion, Firebird, PD, Wraith, Destroyer, Strike, Ballista Pro.
Passion is the only one that surprises me there.
Innova just dominating in the driver categories.
Yeah.
The Beast was the second most popular 10-speed. And,
wow.
in many ways, I feel like Discmania's PD, like, Innova gets a little credit, right?
It gets a little credit. I'll be honest. I prefer the Discmania tooled PD these days than the Innova. Right. I have an Innova one, and I don't like it as much as I like my Discmania one. So, as someone who bags a couple PDs, I think Discmania wins on the better PD. I know, like, longtime throwers don't agree with me.
MVP Axiom had 2 top slots last time: the Envy at the 3-speed and the Crave at the 6-speed.
Yep.
I expect them to have 4 to 5 of the top slots this year. It just feels like they have continued to take mind share, bag share, market share.
Okay, so Envy probably still at the 3.
Probably.
Crave is definitely going to be the 6-speed. Forever and always, the 6-speed award is always going to go to the Crave.
Hex could pass Buzz.
You think Hex passes Buzz?
I will not be shocked.
I'll tell you, I think that the other place they make up ground is the 10-speed on the trail.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say that almost is guaranteed for them. I don't know that they're going to get the number 1 spot, but they're definitely going to move into the top 3.
Yeah.
Last time it was PD Beast Onyx.
Yeah, I think it definitely gets the number 2 spot. I doubt it overcomes the PD, but I bet it gets the 2.
So the Pixel is a 2-speed.
Oh.
It has to beat out AVR, P2, Rhino were the top 3 last year. I could see it.
Probably moves up, but
I don't know if it can pass AVR.
The problem
There's
with
a
AVR,
lot of old heads who love an AVR.
That, and I think that a lot of people, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I would be willing to bet there are people who just put AVR who also throw the JK AVR or the Yeti AVR.
I mean,
just
there's so many flavors. Yeah,
exactly. And I bet there's a subset of those people who are just putting AVR.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not everyone, but
well, going to be interesting to see when that rolls out. We'll have it soon. Josh, we have some data specifically about Upshot listeners. So take a look here. This chart is who is your favorite MPO player And there's 4 bars to see here. The blue bar at the top is all respondents to the survey. That's, however many thousands of people. The yellow bar, the next one, is respondents who listen to podcasts. The third bar is respondents who listen to the Upshot. And the fourth bar, the purple bar, is respondents whose favorite podcast is the Upshot. Remember, you can always watch our video version on YouTube or on Spotify. So here's the data. Simon Lizotte remains the favorite, the most favorited player, I should say. This is specifically who is your favorite player. This has nothing to do with like how you feel about the players. Otherwise,
Yes. Yep.
you might really like all the players in this list, but who did you pick as your number one? Simon is actually more favorited as you go up the chain. So he's about 19% among all respondents, then 21% among podcast listeners, 21.5% among Upshot listeners, and 23% among favorite podcast Upshot listeners. Interesting.
It is interesting. If you look, like Paul Macbeth also gets a big bump. Paul Macbeth is 9.2% with the general population and with the people who listen to podcasts. Those who listen to the Upshot gives them a 1.5 boost, and then those who love the Upshot jump all the way up to 12.2. I mean, these are, and this trend, interestingly enough, if you go way down the list, guys like Matty O, guys like Nate Sexton, James Conrad, some of those guys who were like in there, dominating the sport 5 years ago or so, are immensely popular, more popular with Upshot listeners, or at least noticeably more popular with Upshot fans.
Yeah. Other players of note to kind of have a pop. Calvin Heimberg up near the top. Lowry Lettinen. Now, he's not heavily favorited, but more than double if your favorite podcast is the Upshot at 1%. And I feel like, it makes sense in a way, right? We talk, not only do we have a great European audience, shout out to all of you who listen overseas, but I think we talk a lot about Lowry relative to other podcasts because we've kind of like followed his story of coming back and how well he's played. And he's not necessarily somebody who's going to be making a big impact if you're not following the sport closely, because like he's not finishing in the top 3 on a regular basis. He's not even on coverage that much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think those who listen to our podcast are generally more engaged with the sport. They're more engaged fans. And so this is a reflection, like when you see bumps in guys that are otherwise maybe a little bit more obscure to the general public, then that makes a lot of sense to me. The other thing I think is interesting is, I mean, these favorites have to come from somewhere, right? Now, AB is almost loses half of his favorites when you move from the general population to those who are Upshot fans. He goes from 8.5% of all respondents down to 4.9% of those whose favored the Upshot.
Interestingly, he's also not nearly as favored among general podcast listeners. So I kind of wonder what that effect is. Like, what is it about someone who listens to podcasts that makes you like AB less? Not that you dislike him again,
right? But
that he's not your favorite.
Here's my suspicion. AB is the most traditionally cool guy we have on tour. He is easily appealable to those who don't follow the sport closely. And so as soon as you jump to people who are more engaged, I think the cool factor plays a less, it's not quite as outsized in terms of whether or not your AB's your favorite.
Sure. Nicholas Antela also does worse among Upshot listeners.
That one is surprising to me.
I agree with that.
That one actually is, I think, the most surprising of all of this data.
Yeah. Then, other notable, Ezra Aderhold, less popular among Upshot listeners relative to the baseline. Matty O, more popular, as you mentioned. Nate Sexton, more popular. I think, to some extent, I wonder if, like, we have a larger group of people who have listened for a long time. I mean, the Upshot we were certainly not the first disc golf podcast, but we were like the second disc golf podcast. I mean, I hesitate to say that because we were Smashbox, right? And then the Upshot started around 2016. So we probably just have more people who have listened for a long time who are going to be naturally more drawn to players who are good, as you said, 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of the podcasts that have started more recently, because now there's a million podcasts.
Right.
So
Charlie, is this
interesting?
Is this the decade season of the Upshot?
I don't know 100%. I got to go back and check.
You're gonna have to go check. But if so, it sounds like we're doing a 10-year anniversary box.
Let's see. Oh my God, we got to do a 10-year anniversary box. We have to do a 10-year anniversary box.
You do a 10-year anniversary Upshot box,
dude. We will sell those like better than the Pro Tour. Every episode,
okay,
I'm going to do 4 ad reads for the 10-year anniversary box. You will know about the 10-year anniversary box.
That's right.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna look it up right now. Can just give me a guess? So I'm gonna say over under August 1st, 2016 for the first Upshot episode.
Under meaning before. I think that I don't know.
Genuinely don't know.
I think you would have started earlier in the season. That sounds silly to start at the end of a disc golf season. A lot of episodes.
Okay, you're right, Josh. It was May 13th, 2016 was the first podcast with me and Steve Hill. We talked about the American Disc Golf Tour and the live broadcast on ESPN3, which is a real throwback for those who know about that one. And Lizotte versus Macbeth is in the headline. So
all right. It's May what?
May 13th, 2016.
May 13th.
So put it on the calendar, Josh.
We gotta get Steve and get
let's get the whole crew
Jamie on
together.
Yeah.
May 13th, 2026 is a Wednesday. But we'll do a mega show, and we'll see if we can do some kind of 10-year anniversary box. It's honestly a great idea.
Well, I mean, listen, and Charlie, I know I've told you this, but I think everyone would enjoy to hear this. I am afraid every time I go home to my parents' house because my mom harasses me about where the Upshot merch is. So,
okay, this is the year, Josh.
All right,
this is the year.
She wants an Upshot quarter zip, very specifically. So just so you know, and I still just need a shed hat.
Dude, we gotta make that.
We've got to make a shed hat.
We got to do it. All right. Let's take a look at the FPO chart because this one's even better. I'm going to be honest with you. All you need to know.
There's one.
You already know. The Dawg. Owen Scoggins. Her favorite FPO player selection among the general population, 11.1%. Really good. Number 3 overall behind Kristen and Silva.
Yep.
Among Upshot favorite podcasters, 17%. A huge jump, like massive compared to everything else. Otherwise, I wouldn't say there's like a ton of notable stuff.
No, there's like nothing else that is even like that notable in here except that one.
Yeah. So the Dawg, we got to do some Dawg merch too because
we've got to do.
I'm gonna hit up Owen and we'll make a deal where she gets money from every sale. We'll do kind of like a tour series type thing, and we'll do some Dawg merch. It has to happen. We all need it. 17% of you love Owen the most, so we're making it happen.
We have to. Okay, Charlie, in the conversation of merch, before I go back to this chart, if I can arrange that a certain company will work with us to make some Upshot stamped tombs, is that inside the realm of possibilities?
Of course it is. Come on.
Great.
This is the year. Great. This is the year of Upshot merch and swag and discs.
All right. People are going to be so hype about this.
Dude, this is we're doing it 100%.
Cool. Other notable players, Paige Pierce, also a little bit up. Back to like the Paul Simon notes, right? Like listeners who maybe are a little bit more tenured are fans there. Ella Hansen also gets a bump. That's a player that I am not surprised about even a little bit. We had Ella Hansen on first, like during COVID, when she had first come onto the scene, and so and the connection to Ultimate, the combo there. The other one that gets a nice bump, obviously not large, given that there wasn't a lot there, but less than 1% for Upshot listeners generally, but jumps up to 1.4% for Sophia Dunica.
Oh yeah. There you go. And Annika and Sten, oddly, not favorited as much relative to general population. Not sure why.
My suspicion here is that the people who are normally saying Annika and Sten is their favorite might be ones who have moved over to, like, who are moving over to Own.
Perhaps.
right? I mean, they got to come from somewhere, and so if you're not if your favorite's not like a top winning player, and you just like people, I mean, Owen's obviously a top winning player as well, and so I think that's probably where some of that had to come from.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Europeans who like Owen.
All right, Josh, before we go, it's time for 30-second rule. Well, wait a minute. Hold the press.
Oh.
I think it's got to be 45-second rule now. Right?
No, it can't be, Charlie, because it's not about the rules. It's about Nico. That's the namesake of this. The Nico story.
There still is a 30-second rule, so we can stick with that.
That's right. It's got to live on, right? Because it's when people are eventually going to go, guys, it's 45-second time. Why is it still called 30-second rule? We're going to go, here's the clip. Like, run it back.
All right. So time for 30-second rule, where we talk about the latest news in 30 seconds or less. And if we go over, it doesn't matter. So Josh, take it away. What do we got?
Yeah, first up, Corey Ellis, who's been playing on the Tour Down Under. We'll get to that a little bit more on that in a minute. But Corey Ellis was spotted in an RPM jersey. No official announcement from what I've seen. I was trying to look and see if I could find anything. Wasn't seeing anything official. But there's been a lot of speculation that was going to be the case as soon as Corey Ellis didn't make like kind of an early season announcement.
Yeah, the rumors have been there. The rumors are only intensifying. It would not be surprising at all to see a Corey Ellis open bag with like RPM guarantee in some of the slots. And I think it's a tremendous move for RPM if they do pull this off. I mean, I feel like it's hard to imagine Corey Ellis wearing an RPM disc shirt while playing unless there's something going on there, right? I mean, obviously, he could just be like, I'm repping the squad because I'm in New Zealand right now.
And I don't have a sponsor, so yeah. If he's open bag, yeah, he might just be repping whatever jersey.
Yeah. So I think pretty cool situation. A lot of people don't know about RPM. They've got some great discs. So,
yeah. Cool. Next up.
What's next?
Yeah. Charlie, Europa Cup is back in the news again.
Yes. Where snip, snap. No, not actually.
Listen, we laugh, but it's actually really cool. Europa Cup is announced. It is moving forward going to be the European Junior and Amateur Champion or Major. So this is going to now be paired along with the European Open. I don't know if it's like necessary. It's complementary to the European Open. Rather than trying to get Europeans to fly over for Junior Worlds or US Amateurs or whatever of those kind of events that people might otherwise participate in, Europe is now going to be hosting their own. The inaugural edition will be this year in 2026, and it's going to be in northern Estonia on the Metagoose and the Altugoose courses. Charlie, I don't know how far these are away from Tallinn.
They can't be that far. Estonia is not big.
It's not big. Boy, those courses look like they would be nice courses as our second one for Worlds. They are gorgeous looking. I mean, you go back, like everything that you like about European disc golf, these courses, at least from the pictures that they've got on the PDGA announcement, sure look like it's it.
All right, I'm doing Google Maps right now.
Okay.
2 hours, 20 minutes driving from Tallinn to Alutagoose Disc Golf Park. Probably too much to ask for a pro major.
How far away is Milo from Glendevere?
I don't know, but not 2 hours, 20 minutes.
No.
I mean, it's just a little too far to ask people to drive, I think.
Tiny bit too far.
I mean, they could just run the majors at these courses, but they want to do it in Tallinn.
Well, and that's the thing, is like I want one of the courses still to be in Tallinn for like the great event they run. But man, these courses look cool.
It's just it'd be a big headache because you couldn't really have one hotel. You'd have to move.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to be an A tier this year. Next year, it'll move up to major status and move to Konopiste. I think they're basically just giving themselves some time to kind of like work out the kinks and set expectations with the title of the event. And then it'll go back to Estonia in 2028 as a major, and then they'll actually start bidding it out in 2029. This is just uncategorically an awesome decision by the PDGA. Like, it is not reasonable to expect 15-year-olds in Europe to fly to the U.S. and go to Emporia for Junior Worlds. It's just not. That's not a thing, right? Like, maybe there's like some really, really, really dedicated, wealthy kids who do that, but realistically, they need to have their own events for amateurs and juniors, because part of it is just that you go to where is convenient, and this is not professionals. So I think this is just a tremendous move. I love the efforts that the PDGA has been putting in terms of developing the European side of the sport, and I think we're seeing lots of growth in Europe, in part due to these changes and the Pro Tour's investment and the PDGA's, like, I mean, it is night and day European organized disc golf from now versus even 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, they do a phenomenal job across the board. So, we laughed. Like I said, we laughed about the Europa Cup thing. It's a great use of the name. It's a great way to be excited about it, and it is, like you said, just a great decision. Next up, 30-second rule. Disc East happened this past weekend. People, they survived the storm.
They braved it.
Hope you survived the storm over there, Charlie. Yeah. I think it is cool that disc golf has this kind of an expo. Good for the sport, and where else are you going to get your Simon disc to scalp for $60 on Marketplace?
Yeah, I think it seems like there was some really cool drops. A bunch of pros still went. A lot of people bailed out Saturday afternoon to beat the storm. And that was the right idea, because it absolutely dumped. I mean, we got about 10 inches here in New York City, and it was way worse up in Massachusetts, feet of snow. So hopefully everything went well. And I know it's really cool to have this off-season, like, event that people can get excited about and go and meet pros and get new plastic, and there's like cool drops and all this kind of stuff. I think these kinds of things are only going to become more common. So shout out to the organizers, and nice job managing to get this thing off despite the storm.
It's impressive, that's for sure. We've got a handful of A tiers to catch up on. Starting, we've got the Tour Down Under, Charlie, and we are 3 of the 4 events in. I've actually watched a little bit of the coverage. It's been fun to watch. And boy, what a smart time to put it, right? Recognizing that there's no other disc golf going on, like you can get a couple names who want to come down and enjoy it, and then you can put some coverage on. It's perfect time when people are just really itching for some disc golf. And so we have 3 events that have happened so far. The first one was the Taranaki Disc Golf Open, excuse me. Levi Stout wins that one pretty handedly over Bradley Williams and Corey Ellis, and Jennifer Smiley wins over an FPO over Taylor Chosick and Kat Murch. That Levi, Jesse was telling us after the stats show the fandom show, that he's a real deal.
Yeah, apparently going to be touring a little bit in the U.S. this year. He's from Invercargill, New Zealand. Really talented. Up to 1025 rated. And given these pros who've traveled down there a run for their money, and I think we could see him make a bit of a splash, and really, really good young player.
The second event is the Australasian Open. Eli Swanson wins that one by a stroke over Tall Paul Oman, and then Levi Stout in third. Kat Murch wins that one over Sarah Hokum and Paige Pierce. And then our most recent event was the New Zealand Disc Golf Open, which happened this past weekend. Bradley Williams wins it. And then over on FPO, Kat Murch beats out Paige Pierce and Sophia Danica by a stroke. So I gotta say, Charlie, I think that the New Zealand Open might have the best trophy in disc golf.
Oh yeah?
I really do. For those who are watching the video, that it's like it's like a fish hook, but like I don't know how else to describe it. Looks like a Maui fish hook from Moana is what it looks like. But it looks sick. It looks so cool. I know it's like I don't think that's the exactly right comp, but that is how it looks to me. And then that is that's a piece of art that should go on your wall.
It's really cool. I mean, like looks like an art piece.
It does.
Like, that's
exactly
something people,
right. Yes.
if you have it in your house, people are going to be like, "Yo, what is that?"
Yeah.
It's extremely cool.
Very cool.
I think it's supposed to be a fish hook. I think that's right.
I think it is a fish hook. Yeah, it looks like it looks like a fish hook. I don't even know where Moana's based off of, and I don't know if it's like New Zealand or elsewhere. So anyway, I have to do some research.
Moana is Polynesian, pretty sure.
Right. That's what I'm not anyway.
So Moana is a town in New Zealand known for fishing, boating, and a stop on the train route. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool. I would say I thought it was more. I thought it was based like Samoa Tonga. I had friends who were Tahitian when it came out, and like they really appreciated it, and so I wasn't really sure.
That's the more. I mean, it's obviously it's a fictional island in the actual movie, but yeah, like inspired by Fiji, Samoa, Tonga.
Yeah,
but you're in the right part of the world for sure.
That's what the fish hook looks like. The fish hook looks the same.
Yeah.
Recognizing that it probably was not the same influence, the fish hooks look the same. So it's sick. Go look at the picture. That is the line.
It's on our YouTube version. All right.
We got 2 other A tiers.
Okay.
La Mirada Open happened this weekend. Aaron Gossage gets his first win as an MVP sponsored player. Wins comfortably, 4 strokes. Despite but very comfortable. Wins this event, and the Dawg owns Scoggins beats Jen Allen by 10 strokes.
Damn.
Own just showed up and took names at this event. I mean, she crushed it. So congrats to Aaron Gossage and Owen Scoggins for their wins. And then we had one last one. This one is down in Florida, the Team Figgins Open. Harper Thompson won on MPO. I feel like we've talked about him before.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, I would say that name is definitely a familiar one. He wins pretty comfortably over on MPO, and Ellie Midling wins an FPO by a mile. So not this one is probably out of all the events that we have just talked about, this one is definitely the least attended by established names.
Yeah, but there's still some really good players.
There are, absolutely.
In MPO, you had Nathan Queen, Gavin Rathbun, Zach Arlinghouse, Brandon Latta. Like, there's some names. There's some names. Not tremendous. There was about 10 players rated over 1,000, but nice win for Harper Thompson and Ellie Midling getting a nice little start to her season. I mean, she shot way above her rating. I think it looks like she averaged about 970. She's rated 936 right now. So perhaps a good sign for Ellie Midling heading into 2026.
Well, Charlie, I think that's all we've got for 30-second rule today.
All right. Well, thank you, Josh. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you joining us. Make sure you get yourself an Ultiworld Disc Golf subscription. It's less than $5 a month. And you can get all of our bonus Upshot episodes, an exclusive subscriber-only email newsletter about the business of disc golf, exclusive articles, and more. Just go to discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. It's a great time to sign up. You can sign up for the year, lock in for all of our rapid reacts, which are starting in about a month. And we're back in there rocking and rolling live in the Discord. We did a show on Friday, live in Discord. And Josh, it was mailbag show. Great show. It was basically a full Upshot episode. We did about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
It was packed. I mean, people were totally tapped out of work. It was like 3 p.m. Eastern. Nobody was working. It was awesome.
It was packed.
It was like we were doing reacts to a major. Anyway, we'll be doing another one this week, so make sure you join us for that. And for Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. We'll talk to you Thursday right here on The Upshot.